Okay, the meeting is streamed. Hey, Miran.
Hello there. Am I audible? Hello.
Hey, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, so we don't have any agenda for today. It's actually ad hoc agenda. Whatever you guys want to ask, or if not, we can actually make it a short meeting. I think the goal is actually to get the release targeted 6/12. There are some work items left, and I know that the community is also working on RC7 with some fixes. So that's kind of the very quick update, Zach, mainly for you. Is there anything that you folks want to discuss today, or?
Well, nothing particular on my side. I put out a suggestion to Yi as well on Slack, and it's related to the website. I couldn't mention this last time because the meeting there wasn't quite time for questions as such. But I put out a suggestion saying that plugin use cases and stuff should be displayed better on the website, and there should be some kind of it's more like a learn page for the users as they see okay, these kind of plugins are available, let me know how to use it. Okay, a links or like a use case is given. So I mentioned that to Yi on Slack, and he kind of approved that request, so I put in an issue in the website repo. So that's
And
like
do you have
kind. Sorry.
a link to the issue? Do you have a link
Ah,
to
yeah,
the issue?
yeah. Let me just send it across to you.
Hey, Miran, this is Zach. I do a lot of the docs work, and there's some plugin stuff that I'm working on at the moment. But you're talking about plugin use cases. Is this a list of existing plugins and how to use them? Is this more from like a developer's perspective on what are the appropriate use cases for developing plugins? I guess can you give me a little more detail on what you're looking for?
Firstly, I put in the details of the issue in the chat, and to answer your question, Zach, this is more of how to use the available plugins, or what plugins are available, how they can be used by a user in their journey of using notation to sign images and whatnot. So some details regarding to that, since I couldn't find it necessarily mentioned on the notation website, I just put it out as a suggestion.
Okay, no, thank you for that additional context. I'll read through the issue. I know I did put down a list of current plugins and links to their use cases and where they were documented, since they're done by third parties.
Third parties, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that pull request has been merged yet, so that may be one of the issues. If it has been, I can take a look at how to surface that information better to make sure that it's a little more obvious on where to find it and it's not buried.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Miran. Anything else? Miran, anything else from your side, or?
Yeah. So I did some work with related to Josh Daphne. His work on the setup notation Git action. So I've been working with that to sign essentially an image and work around it. So I've been kind of having some communication back and forth with him related to how we can get this kind of up and running, because how to get the automation process up and running. So been working with him on that. I've had some issues. I've spoken to him about it, closed them as such as well. I'm currently running into some issues as well, which I will be communicating with him. I just didn't have the time. That's pretty much on my end what's been happening. Also, I wanted to ask you, I believe it's Toddy, yes?
Yep.
Okay, so Toddy, I remember when I asked you about signing what do you call that, release artifacts and kind of release binaries. You said that as long as they're hosted in a OCI compatible registry, they're fine, yes? So
Yeah.
do they have to be like images and such, or can they be like files which are just uploaded?
No, they don't have to be images. So it can be anything that actually is pushed to an OCI registry.
Okay, so they can be like zip files or PKGs or whatever the file with said extension, yeah?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Okay. It's I'm not sure whether we have a specific example just pushing a files, but if you say you go and push auras, use auras to push a file to the registry, after that you can use notation to sign it.
So in a sense, now, if that's the case, then let's say if I have my release artifacts in a Git release, that is not possible then?
In a
Like
Git release, I
GitHub
do not.
release, yeah.
I do not think that the artifact in the is that pushed to the as a package, or is it pushed as a to the
release.
OCI registry?
No, so it's just put it on GitHub releases. I don't think that applies, right? So
I
since
don't.
it's
Yeah,
not.
no.
Okay. So it has
Yeah,
to
I
be.
don't think that will work.
So if that's the case, then it
If-
has to be sent through ORAS to a proper OCI registry, I'm assuming.
Yes, you need to, let's say if you use GitHub has also a container registry.
Yeah.
So you can push the artifact using auras to the container registry in GitHub. And then you can sign it.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. That's about it from my from me. Hope we can discuss more.
Okay. Thank you, Miran. Zach, do you have anything, or you're just joining?
Just to follow up on that, would the signing via OCI image layout, would that be helpful in the case that you all were discussing, or no?
Yeah, that will be helpful, but you need to build the OCI layout on the local file system, and that's actually, it will not look very good as let's say GitHub release. What Miran is explaining is kind of interesting use case. So we may actually want to document how you can do these things, let's say in GitHub specifically. So I'm adding a note here about this type of scenario.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I actually shared in the chat the documentation of the current state around using OCI image layout for images specifically. I understand Miran was talking about something separate, and it's a separate use case, but in case it's helpful, that's what we have initially. From a secondary perspective, the other thing that I wanted to bring up was I do have an open pull request in the notation CLI repository. It's around generating the CLI reference documentation. I added some implementation so that it stays in the actual CLI repo, and we can run the auto generation of the markdown files directly, as opposed to having to make modifications. That would be very helpful for me in generating documentation, but also externalizes it such that anybody could generate the documentation should I not be, it doesn't require me to be involved. And it does do some rearranging of where information lives in certain Go files. It's not implementation changes, it's just textual changes that are moved around. If at all possible, I'd really like that merged before 1.0. Just so that it's a lot easier for generating things going forward and it's not a huge issue. If it's too risky and introduces too much uncertainty for breaking changes, I completely understand, but I'd love for you all to take a look and see if you can get that merged in before 1.0.
Yeah, do you have the link to that?
Yeah, just give me a minute. And outside of that, I did not have anything else.
Okay. Okay, I saw that actually Samir joined, but he dropped. And I see Pritesh now. Pritesh, hi. Do you have any agenda items for today?
Nope, I don't have any item. I'm just looking at all of the existing ones.
Yeah, we were just discussing some questions about that Miran had about signing and some documentation item that Zach actually raised. So I'm linking that in the notes. It's related to the reference documentation for the CLI. So he would like us to take a look at the PR that he just linked in the chat, and if it's possible to merge it before 1.1. So I would like to ask you maybe and Shiwei or some of the folks in China to take a look at the PR specifically that Zach mentioned.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Yep, that would be great. I think, yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, can you
Okay.
please add some description? How is it? It's like I'm new to this automatic dog generation. Can you add some link where how we are doing this?
Zach, would you mind updating the PR with
Sure,
this
I'm sorry.
information?
Could you repeat the details of what you're looking for? I couldn't hear you.
Like, how is it working actually? What libraries we are like basically just link to the libraries or dependencies we are taking for this and how it actually works. Is it like Go native feature or we are getting it from some dependencies? Because I did see that we are adding 3 dependencies.
I believe that's the Cobra dependency that we have. Is that correct, Zach?
Yeah, a lot of it came from Cobra, and I believe there's the 2 non-native dependency. There's like 1 non-native dependency, and then I think there's a couple of native dependencies. The non-native one is Cobra, which is already what you all already use for the CLI creation. And then the non-native ones are for string processing, essentially. Or sorry, excuse me, let me correct that. The native ones, I believe, are just for string processing. That's what at least my putting it together. I'm not a Go expert, but I believe the native ones are just string processing, and the non-native ones are the example from Cobra.
I was looking at this file. It looks like it added 3 of indirect dependencies. It's just like you're updating Go mod file. You're doing Go mod tidy, or is that something new which we added? Like I did see we added 3 here. A Black Friday, MD2 man, Go MD2 man, and YAML.
Excuse me. Okay, I can take a look at that and make sure, but I believe that was things that were automatically added when I was developing this. If they're unneeded, I can take a look again. But that's essentially the dependencies that seem to get automatically added to Go mod when I was developing it. I don't have a deep knowledge in Go. I was just kind of following the examples set out by the Cobra documentation. But again, I understand if there's reservations. I don't want to cause any regressions or breaking things right before you go 1.0.
Yeah, like I'm just curious
So
about dependency because one is named Black Friday. I don't know which dependencies that probably we want to take a second look at that one at least.
One more thing, Zach, if we can take a look at the licenses for those, because sometimes we may need to actually get a specific review of the licenses when we include such libraries. I would assume there will be no actually problems, but if you included one dependency and that dependency brought a couple of others, we need to make sure that actually we don't violate any licenses for that.
Okay, not a problem. Is there, to your knowledge, is that process, or at least the requirements around adding dependencies, we documented that anywhere in the contributor guide for that? I didn't take a deep dive, but
no, I am not aware of, but it's a good actually suggestion to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me add this a note. Okay. Anything else, folks?
Could I ask somewhat of a related question? It's more just a general idea. Now, I previously mentioned I followed Notary V1, and I know that it adhered strictly to the spec of the update framework. I want to know in that regard how where notation lies, and is it in what extent is it adhering to the tough or the update framework spec, or is it not? And just to get a little info on that would be somewhat helpful.
Actually, there is no kind of how to say it. So we do not use the TUF framework in notation and the latest implementation of the notary signatures. The TUF framework requires additional infrastructure to manage the keys, and that kind of made the signatures not portable in the previous implementation of Notary. So right now there is no actually tie to the TUF framework when the signatures are created.
Right.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in a simple sense, like it's not feasible to run a framework like that in the grand scheme of things, right? If we realistically look at it.
No. We are having discussions actually whether we can add the metadata to the registry itself. However, that is additional kind of step if users want to do that, because you need to maintain the whole TUF infrastructure for it.
Yeah. But
so it's to answer your question, maybe the right answer is you're not required to use TUF, but you can if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to pick your brain about this, but like now, even though let's say you're not using the TUF framework, the entire concept here built with notation to sign images and the idea behind it kind of adheres to the idea initially proposed by the TUF framework, right? Like what do you call it, software supply chain security and stuff like that. I'm assuming that still is done. Yes, that is the entire point of it, right?
No, not really. So the notation part and the last implementation of the notary signature is just ensuring integrity. There are certain things in the TUF framework that protect for, let's say, software updates.
Yeah.
That right now we, as kind of just the image integrity or the artifact integrity, may not be able to protect you. Which means you need to kind of have additional metadata. That's why, as I said, so we're looking at how we can integrate with different frameworks, not only TUF, but we can provide more assurances, but that will be after the 1.0.0 release.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Thank you very much
Yep.
for that clarification. That was that gave me a pretty good idea of what's going on. Thank you.
I have a
Okay.
question. Is was any assurance you're looking for with TUF? Any specific feature of TUF you were interested in, or?
No. Essentially, it was put down by my team as an idea to integrate like the TUF framework in one of the products that we're using. And that's how I came about Notary V1, and then now found about Notary V2, and that's how I'm following on about it. That's why I just posed that question and asked what would be the difference and stuff like that. There's no specific requirement to use it, but then it was just an idea which was posed initially for me.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or items that we want to cover today? If not, we can end the meeting early. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your day, evening.
You too.